several Republicans asked me to apologize. Well, I would like to apologize. I would like to apologize to the dead. And here's why. According to this study, health insurance and mortality in U.S. adults, which was published 2 weeks ago, 44,789 Americans die every year because they have no health insurance. I apologize to the dead and their families that we haven't voted sooner to end this Holocaust in America.
That was Democratic Congressman Grayson and his so-called apology for his comment that Republicans want you to die quickly. But now some Jewish lawmakers are calling for an apology for that comment, including Florida House Majority Leader Adam Hausner, a Republican, who says it is offensive to compare the healthcare system to the murders of more than 6 million Jews during the Holocaust. State Representative, I think a lot of people would agree with you is the basic point that while the congressman was right on all the facts, to essentially invoke the Holocaust diminishes the significance of the Holocaust?
Well, the comment itself is indefensible, but regardless of your position on health care reform, to compare America's health care system to the systematic murdering of 6 million Jews and millions of others, it is outrageous, and Congressman Grayson should go back to the floor and apologize for those offensive remarks.
I agree with you on that, but I wonder then, for people who want to suggest that maybe this is politics on your part, would you like to take this opportunity to demand that Rush Limbaugh apologize for comparing the Democrats to Nazis, or Glenn Beck, who at one point suggested we're on the road to Hitler Youth? Those were both outrageous, weren't they?
Well, the rhetoric that is going on in Washington right now, it has certainly reached an all-time high. But for Congressman Grayson to go to the floor of the United States Congress to make these comments is simply unacceptable. And what we have called for is for all the Jewish lawmakers, and really I'm offended, I'm Jewish, but I think every reasonable American is offended by these types of comparisons. And
well,
for Congressman Grayson,
Representative, you're not alone in being offended. But again, were you also offended when Rush Limbaugh compared the Democrats to Nazis, and would you like to take this opportunity to insist that Rush Limbaugh apologize?
Well, again, Rush Limbaugh is a radio talk show host, and I think
right, but
there is a certain distinction between, but there is a distinction between a member of the United States Congress going to the floor of the House and comparing America's healthcare system.
Fair point. Well, let me mention another member. That's fair point. Let's stick to politicians then. In March of 2004, Representative Tom Cole, a fellow Republican, he said a vote against the re-election of President Bush is like supporting Adolf Hitler. That was offensive, and Representative Cole should apologize back in 2004, right?
Well, Representative Cole's comments did not come on the floor of the United States House of Representatives, where there is a level of decorum that must be met. And we can't have the hypocrisy. If a Republican had made the comments that Congressman Grayson had made, I could just imagine some of my local hometown congressmen, whether it's Robert Wexler or Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, coming unglued. And I think that these statements were over the top. They were outrageous. And Congressman Grayson, you know, he should heed the advice of when you're in a hole, quit digging. And quite frankly, he has put himself in such a bad position. Senator Phil Gramm in September of 2002, he said the Democratic tax plan is right out of Nazi Germany. I'm just trying to make the point. You would agree that any time that there's a reference to Nazi Germany, the Holocaust, to comparing the policy to the Nazis, that is offensive to all of us who lost people during the Holocaust because it diminishes what really happened. And I just want to be clear that you're consistent in condemning everybody who would do this. David, it's not just an issue of condemning. It's an issue of the fact that the statements are inappropriate, and Congressman Grayson is comparing America's health care system to the Holocaust. That is the systematic murdering of over 6 million Jews and millions of more people. You can't compare that to America's health care system regardless of your position on health care reform in our country. And that's simply the point. I'm from Florida. Congressman Grayson is from my home state. I'm offended. I think every reasonable American is or should be offended. And quite frankly, he should go back to the floor and make that apology. And let's move on. Let's get to the debate on the issue, and let's quit this name calling, and let's focus in on the issue of health care reform and making sure that we don't have a government takeover of health care.
Well, except there's no government takeover planned in the bills that is underway here in Washington, but that's a separate debate. Florida House Majority
Congressman
Leader Adam
Grayson is
Hausner,
calling
Republican
for it.
from Florida. Representative, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.